Hey YouTube, welcome to Trade Tuesday, the finale, or Trade Tuesday Season 1, the finale. I'm going to keep doing it, I'm quite enjoying doing it. So this is a kind of, this started in, for my YouTube award here, which I got sent through the post, honest. So on the 1st of May, January, February, March, April, May, I hit the 1,000 subs and monetised the channel. That's why you started seeing adverts. And obviously I'm thinking, oh, maybe getting some money from YouTube. You need to hit a payment threshold per month to get money. If you don't make a certain amount, it's £60 is the limit. So it took a couple of months for me to hit that, to get the first money through. And I was talking to my pal about this, what to do with the money, you know, buy myself a guitar. And then this whole trade up thing idea came in, and it was like, oh, do you end up trying to trade up? And from the start, my original one was, yeah, I'll get a Gibson Les Paul, because I'm constantly slagging them off, and you know, with all the guitars that are, all the Japanese guitars that I claim are better than Les Paul, but I should really have one anyway, and it's not the sort of guitar I'd ever buy for myself. So that was kind of on the burner, and then I bought a guitar that I thought I was going to start it with, but I decided not to because it was too expensive. Basically, the money didn't cover it. I bought one of these, not this one. It's a Yamaha RGX A2. This is not a great place for showing guitars in this particular camera angle. So I bought one of them because I'd done a mod on my one, which is that one, where it's a push-pull coil split and it turns an extra light bulb on, and it's pretty cool. But I broke the LEDs that I had, and then it sort of went in a back burner, but it was too much for it anyway. So I just used my money to pay for that, and then I just by chance happened to buy an Ibanez Blazer. It was a super bargain price, which is up there, the one with the psychedelic paint job on it. You need a paint job. And what I didn't say there is a Gibson Les Paul, and the other thing I was thinking of was a West Tone Thunder bass, because I keep reviewing them. I've recommended lots of my pals to get them, and everyone loves them, but I don't actually own one. But then, so I bought the Ibanez Blazer, but then a couple of weeks later I found an Aria Pro laser bass, which goes well with the Blazer and the laser, and it kind of is a West Tone Thunder. So I decided that I used my first YouTube payment to buy an Ibanez Blazer and the Thunder bass. Not a Thunder, it's an Aria Pro, but it's the same factory and all that. Very similar bass. So that was thing me 1, and then so the second time I was actually going to have a bigger chance at it to actually try and get some swaps in it, rather than just buying guitars I wanted for the money. So that was coincidentally about the same time that I realised I could I've got a GoPro, and I could probably put it in the camera and maybe talk to the camera when I'm in the car. Yeah, so that was the 22nd of October, which is probably the day actually the payment came in, or very near to it, because it was the 22nd of December I just got the new payment, which is going to be for Season 2. Yeah, so 22nd of October I went to Alloa for a vintage P bass. So the reason I've got this up is I was going to show other people in the rest of the world. This is Scotland here, where I was going to use my pointy stick. So that's Scotland there, that's Ireland, England, Denmark, Norway, sort of Europe, and that's down here. So I'm going to just zoom in a bit, just show where I'm going. There's a zoom in thing there. So if I just click on that, it should just go, sort of, yeah. I'll pull it down a little bit. There, so there's, but I'm talking about, it's good being able to get to most of the people in Scotland. Most of the people in Scotland are kind of in this bit here, which is, I am roughly there. And so I can kind of get anywhere in here within an hour, which is dead handy, which I know I appreciate is one of the advantages of me doing this thing, because I can get almost anywhere. That kind of almost covers it. Yeah, is Alloa in it? It is, yes. So that's just zoomed in a bit. Maybe if I put the map, it'll look a bit clearer. Maybe, sort of. Yeah, so there's the centre of Glasgow, which you've seen in my videos when you've been watching these all through the episodes. So episode 1 started here, and I went to Alloa, which is over here, up to Alloa to get that bass. And if I'm clever, I've got the actual picture of the bass. Relatively easy to find. Where is it? USB drive. Bang. There. So vintage P bass, #1 buy. That worked quite well. Can I just click on that and that just stays there? Yeah, okay, yep, yep. So second week I went to, this was a bit of a false start. There was a few guitars that weren't really included in this. I went into Glasgow to do a swap with someone, one of my pals. He was selling 2 P bass necks, and I wanted to buy them off him, and then he wanted to swap it for a hot rail pickup. And then he said something about having do you have any broken distortion, any broken pedals he can fix? And then he said he's got a Telecaster, so it's kind of confusing. I'm not really sure how much I actually paid for the Antoria Telecaster. That was going to be the guitar. The plan was I was going to buy a bass and a guitar and do the trade thing. So I've got the vintage P bass, and I thought Antoria Tele. But it got a bit confusing. I did give him some money, but also gave him a pedal and a pickup. And I get 2 bass necks, so it got a bit confusing. Also, I quite like that, the Antoria, so I'm not including it in this, even though there's a video of it. So that was basically just there, into Glasgow, and then I went to Dumbarton in that video, and then I bought a fish supper, and then ate a fish supper in the car while talking to you. Yes. Very sensible. Yep, episode 3, 10th of November. I went to Stirling for a Stag P bass. Starting here again. Stirling is here. That again was a bit of a false start. It was very similar to, I hadn't yet done the swap, so I still had the other black P bass. It's like 2 black P basses that were quite similar. The vintage was a better bass, but a very similar, both pretty good P basses. So that one actually became an Iron Brew bass. But they're actually. Can I just flick through these? If I go, no, that's not going to work. That's not going to work. Yeah. Anyway, you would have thought there'd be some way we do. There we go. Right. So I basically made that an Iron Brew bass that's for sale in Blitzkrieg shop. So it was a bit of a stump. But also that time I went to Baillieston and I picked up guitars which did I take photos of. There's the Telecaster. There. Yamaha Pacifica. In that deal, I bought a few guitars. I bought I bought 2 basically. I got the Yamaha Pacifica, and I got a wee Encore Strat, which is currently in the garage. I've tried dip coating it a couple of times. I've just not got it quite right yet. It was a nice one. So that became the guitar part of the deal. Brilliant condition. There's videos of all these as and when I got them. So that was in the same week as the bass, so that wasn't really a false day. Then I went to 17th November, episode 4, went to Govan, and I swapped the P bass, the vintage P bass, for this Les Paul, a V100 I think it was, in very good condition. I had to do a wee bit of work on it, just set it up basically, which is fine. And so that was that one, and then I went to a wee bit of a side trek. Where's that? Yeah. So that was Govan, which is just on the south side of Glasgow. There, bang. So I went from there to there. Yeah, and then I got that message for the mini Strat, which actually should have really been included in this. I basically fixed it up and sold it, so that money I suppose could be added into next month's job. He wanted to swap it for a Plectrum. So basically that was from here to Edinburgh. Whoa, way over here. It was a long drive, which I probably wasn't really worth it for a guitar that was swapping for a Plectrum, but it was fun, and I got a video out of it and I enjoyed doing it. I learned something. Right, and then the 1st of December, my pal Ronnie did a swap for a Line 6 Variax guitar for the Pacifica. So far the vintage P bass has been swapped into a vintage Les Paul, and the Yamaha Pacifica has now been swapped for a Line 6 Variax, red and white one. Yeah, so for that one I didn't go anywhere, so that was just, he came around to my house, so there was no video, no out and about to the Scotland video. The the following week, the 8th of December, I did the swap for the Yamaha SG. So I met a guy here in Weems Bay, which is down the Clyde. This is the Clyde here. So that was a drive from here to Weems Bay. Swapped that for the Yamaha SG. So that's me now gone vintage P-bass, vintage Les Paul, Yamaha SG. Deal done. It's the Yamaha SG is awesome. I'm going to stand up and do a bit of a video playing the two guitars I ended up with. It's awful good, and it's like kind of. I did say I wanted a Les Paul to start with, but I mean it's like that's one you could argue it's called a Les Paul killer. It's well known as a Les Paul killer, so it's like nice to have that, and then maybe get a Les Paul next time so I can compare the two. That's my thinking anyway. But it's a really nice guitar. I've done quite a lot on that, and then last week. This is where I cheated a little bit with how I was working this out. So I'm quite happy that so far I've swapped the P-bass for the vintage Les Paul for a Yamaha SG as part one, half the money at the start. And then this one I had a guitar, I mentioned the RGX, not this one, the one that I had for sale. I put one up for sale or for swap, and I got a swap for that for a Fender Strat. Right, so currently I'm sitting here with, I've done a swap that's kind of outside the job, but if I posthumously swap that Yamaha RG, or not that one, the one that I've sold, for the Variax, that sorts it. Yeah, does that make sense? I have bent the rules a little bit, but it's not that bad. It's not a pure ridiculous trade. You know, I've not like traded something that's worth a quarter as much as something else. I mean, it's like the Yamaha RGX and the Line 6 Variax kind of, especially once I've made the pedal for it, it's worth the same amount of money. So I've not really diddled anything apart from myself, and even then I've not really, it seems like a fair trade to me. Yeah, so that the second half of it went Yamaha Pacifica, swap for the Variax. I swapped the Variax with myself, with the RGX, and then I swapped the RGX for a Fender Strat. So there you go, I've ended up with a Yamaha SG and a Fender Strat with my second eBay payment, and that's this season over. So there's a wee bit of wiggling. Had to do a wee bit of bending of the rules to make that last thing fit, and I'm not sure. The thing is, I really like the Variax as well, so I've really kind of ended up swapping one of my guitars for the Variax. I've swapped one of my guitars for the Variax because I quite liked it. I've bought myself an Antoria Stratocaster. Actually, I could kind of almost the one I went to Edinburgh for, the wee mini Strat kind of covers that actually, so I could maybe just got that free. Yeah, and then ended up with a Fender Strat and anyway. Yes, so I will play a wee bit. I'll sit up there just to be a wee bit of perspective on things. As I know there's some people watch this that are from the other side of the world, but Scotland's not very big. There you go. There's the world. Oh, it looks quite big on this world, on this particular scale. But there's the America, and that'd be China over here. Yeah, so that's where Scotland is. And I enjoyed going out and talking in the car. So I'll see you when the camera's back up there, Rockin. Oh, that's pressing the button on the wrong keyboard, aren't I? Hey YouTube, I'm back up here. So my new guitars from the Trade Tuesday finale, the ones that I've kept. Fender Strat. I've ended up really liking it. I've still got a few wee things to do. I'm not 100% sure I chose exactly the right pickups for it. That might not be staying. And there's a trem bar battered into the block where it snapped off, and I got this set of thingies for undoing bolt getting outer things. But what I need to do to actually get at it is I need to take the bridge off, and because the strings go through the bridge, I kind of really need to put new strings on it as well. So I'm kind of tempted to leave it until these strings get a bit old, and then I'll deal with that. I'm not really that bothered about having a tremolo arm anyway, but still got that to do. And I think I'm just leaving the gouges in the front. You know, it's cool. I'm happy about it. it's more quirky than most of my other Strat type guitars. This is kind of like a bit closer to what they originally would have been. I think, you know, it's kind of thin and sort of really wiry sounding, and it feels almost fragile. Whereas I think every other sort of Strat thing, they've kind of made it a bit more less Fender Stratty, a bit more normal in the middle, sort of thing. Yeah, so the swap for this one started off with a Yamaha Pacifica, which I do believe is in one of these half a dozen pictures that I put on the screen. No. Hey, so I bought a Yamaha Pacifica and I swapped that with my pal for this Line 6 Variax, and this is, I'm just getting the dodgy swap out of the way at first. So I really quite like this, it's an interesting thing. So I swapped this guitar for one of these. I had one of these up for sale. I've got two of them. This is my one. I bought another one. Did a fancy mod to make the other the other switch light up, and so I swapped my other one of these for the Variax. Yeah, so that's the dodgy bit of the deal. Well, it's not really that dodgy. I don't think it was that bad a deal. They're both kind of, I would say, worth sort of ballpark. Anyway, so it's a fair enough swap anyone could do. And then I swapped the RGX for this. So I ended up swapping one of my guitars for the Variax. So I'm kind of a Variax up, but I've got this for half of my Trade Tuesday thing, which I'm quite pleased with. Which is it's an obvious end to get a Fender Strat. Yeah, that's fine. I know it was originally after Gibson Les Paul. On the other side, I started off with a there's a button that's going back. Started off with a vintage P bass, which I then swapped for a vintage Les Paul, which I then swapped for this Yamaha SG, which is a smashing guitar. I really like it. I've reinstalled the original pickups that came with it, and I swapped the owner the warming pickups that were in it for the original knobs for this. I've still not obviously it wasn't working earlier on because I had it plugged into the top input jack. I'm going to make both the input jacks just jacks, and then this is a coil choice switch, which basically is just because there was already a hole in the guitar. I think I might try and put the original switch in. This switch is really clicky and good though, but the other one's got this sort of horrible aged knob on it, which I quite like. So I'm going to have a wee bit of a jam with the new guitars. That guitar is significantly louder than this one, so I might need to do this one first. Like a wee bit of a imagine it's going to work plugging in the SG because it is about 4 times the volume of this thing. I'm pretty sure. It's much louder. Such a light guitar. this is going to be so thin afterwards. See what happens. I did turn the rack down, so the rack probably won't work very well for this one. The Strat feels an awful lot more stratty after you've been playing the Yamaha SG, which is obviously very less poly. I really felt the when I got back onto it, noticing the radiused fingerboards and the pure thinness of the whole thing. Pretty fun. So thanks again everyone, all the subs, all the people who watch these and all the people who video them. So thanks for my 2 new guitars that YouTube bought me. Hey, so I've ended up with quite a collection. I mean, actually looking there, this is the bass, which I was almost going to dig out there and add into that jam. Yep, so the bass that YouTube bought me. This is the sort of failed trade attempt where I basically just ended up starting off with 2 guitars I really liked. That being one of them, and then the other one being the Blazer, yeah, which I did paint. But that's also awesome and very different from this, which I was really pleased about. I was worried having to make a choice. I think, see if it had been more of a, like maybe a Mexican Strat or a normal, what do you call it, more modern one, rather than having a sort of old-fashioned 50s-y type thing. It would maybe have been too similar to that, so it would have maybe been a continuing to swap thing. But this one, I kind of like it. Kind of a bit. It's a bit of a weird one. It's not like a normal one. I think it's not the sort of thing I think you could really replace really easily. I think if you paid the money you could, but to get one with the dents on it, so it's worth no money, and then actually just it's the same guitar as the ones that are worth hundreds. I did get it with no pickups, so. So that won't be my last video of the year, but that's Trade Tuesday of the year done. That's probably the last Tuesday of the year anyway. So I'm now on the hunt. I've got a double pack of YouTube money to start off with. Now I will be buying something of interest over the Christmas period to start off again. The idea with doing the two things, you're buying like a guitar and a bass, or 2 guitars or whatever, was just, I figured it would be more chance I would have something to swap to try and get it out every week. So I mean, I did manage to do 9 weeks in a row, which is, I was pretty impressed with. I think really only this, well, there's a couple of them were sort of false starts, so I should have mentioned that. The Antonia Telecaster, which ended up was going to be part of it and then wasn't going to be part of it, and then I bought myself some starts. So someone had swapped for this before I bought the Pacifica. It was stayed in. I do really like this guitar. It just needs, I need to sort that neck out. It's just too straight. So I'm hoping by loosening off the truss rod cover and then hanging it on the wall for months, it'll raise the relief a little bit. It still plays. It's just that Fenders are really weird feeling. I've not really ever had any Fenders before, and that I class that as pretty much been a Fender, but it's made in the same place as this one, Fuji Gen. Okay, 20 years before it, but it kind of is. went on for too long there. Getting a wee bit lost in myself there. So yeah, so Merry Christmas, rock on, see you next season. I've got a few more videos to do this week, not quite bored. I've also looked out all the guitars that I have bought myself this year, or bought myself or been bought by YouTube, you lot, thank you. There's quite a few of them. So what will the next Trade Tuesday bring? Don't know. Will I get my Gibson Les Paul? Do I really want a Gibson Les Paul? I think that this SG is very similar to like a Les Paul Studio. Be interesting to do a shootout if I did actually buy a Les Paul. You know, the sort of the not so fancy, you know, none of the binding and all that. I think I might just spend the next hour or so playing this guitar while this is uploading. Rock on! Thanks very much. Catch you all later.